Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we'll discuss Wake Up Before Sunrise with our host, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We have close to 37 members on Zoom and 20 members on Facebook. Good afternoon, Vaish. Welcome to another episode of Success Sadhana. I think you're on mute.
Thanks, JM. Now I have an. So I always brag about being able to run a small airline. Not that I have one, but that I could run a small airline off an iPhone. So now I'm having the chance to run everything from it because my internet's been down for the last couple of days and likely will be through the weekend. So a lot of fun using the iPhone, and great to see everybody. Thanks for joining for this very sort of practical session today, because it'll change your life. And it's an adjustment that you can make that will justify, rectify many other issues that you have in your life, because by nature, we're well adjusted and we fit right into the scheme of the universe quite well. It's just, if I get a little off in my workings in the world and the rhythms that I have, then I start to feel a little discord in my life. Anybody feel any discord ever? So there is definitely an artificial standard of life that's crept up over the years. For instance, electric lights. When we get on jets and we fly 500-600 miles an hour and get into various time zones that our bodies aren't used to and so forth. There are many ways in which we may have even forgotten how much stress we're under. And there are some very simple ways to overcome that and to be more in harmony with the universe and our higher purpose, which is one of the most important ways that we can be happy in life if we know our purpose and we're working towards it on a daily basis. And I say purpose with a big P, because although we may have many duties to do in this life, to take care of our bodies, to get educated, take care of our family members, there's one really big purpose, is getting ready for a journey. We get ready for small journeys, like I'm flying to New York and then London on Tuesday. I need that extra day. And it takes a little bit of planning to make sure I'm taking the right things. I have everything taken care of here before I leave, what to speak of when I leave this body. And we're all travelers. So there's a way that if we take a higher perspective and we see how we're just passing through this world, we're on a journey, and try to get in harmony with our higher purpose, establish what that is, then waking up will not be a problem. And we'll also feel invigorated for the purpose of life, for achieving it. So let's just take a moment. It's so valuable to take a moment to introspect and do a little meditation when we can. And this morning, when I was doing a early morning meditation and started by becoming aware of my breath, I was absorbed in thinking about the ocean and how the ocean comes in waves to the beach. And similarly, the breath sounds like ocean waves over and over again, coming in, coming out. And so many of the patterns we have around us in nature that we observe are in these cyclical patterns. And being aware of that, I became more aware that I was sitting inside a body and that I was a traveler occupying a body. And it gave me a really unique perspective so far this morning. There's been a lot to do starting from early this morning, and I really had a much more serene approach to what I was doing. Although I was active and I was getting things done one after another, I wasn't overwhelmed by them. So how does it sound to all of you if we start with a little bit of meditation? Let's see if I can get any thumbs up on that one. I'm scrolling through. Hey, T's here. Hey, T. Good to see you. Rajesh. Jojo. All right, Subhadra. Okay, let's try it. Let's sit up a little straighter than we were a second ago and close our eyes, because this helps to go inward. And then bring your attention to your breath. And maybe a second ago, you weren't breathing very fully. And now you have an opportunity to change the pattern of your breath more consciously and take advantage of some lung space. The object here is to bring your attention fully to your breath. You don't have to overthink it. And any other considerations, you have full permission to let go of right now, just for a while. Just a few minutes. Let go of any concerns that you have, any plans that you're making. Just be fully present and see how it feels. It's not bad at all. And breathe. Try to relax your back and your legs, but keep a very alert mind. Let your mind be strong and alert, and let all the other functions of the body relax except for your spine. Keep it a little straight. And watch your breath. And if you can, listen to it also. And see if you notice its wave-like sound. As you're breathing, you can note the exhale by saying out, and the inhale by mentally saying in. And become intrigued by the simplicity of it and how it's going on automatically and how it's a gift. And now let's add an element of transcendental sound to our meditation. We'll vibrate with our vocal cords the syllable Om, which synchronizes all the spiritual energies in the region of the heart. And I'll say it 3 times, and you can follow me if you wish, behind muted mics. Om. 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 And now the 2-syllable mantra, Rama, which ushers in spiritual pleasure. I'll say it 3 times and you can follow along as you wish. Rama, Rama, Rama. Now just take a moment to notice any resonance from these sound vibrations that have entered into your solar plexus, through your skull area. And bring your attention back to your breath. And then rub your hands together to get some external sensation. And open your eyes and come back into the Zoom room. Welcome back. Yeah, I like that, Jojo. Stretching a little too. I'm going to do that. So today, I'll talk about the importance of rising before the sun. So actually, I'll go for a few slides, JM. So the biggest event of the day is the sun coming up. And it's light. It's the only source of light in this universe. All other light that we see here is reflected from the sun. It's stored energy, it's echoed back. And therefore, there's this admonition given in the ancient Vedas. It says, Tamasima Jyotirgamai, which means come out of darkness. Don't stay in darkness, come into the light. Try for the light. So that means spiritual awakening. It also means becoming aware of the light and the source of light in this universe. Like that picture of the person coming out of the cave. And we notice everywhere, especially if you're around plants and trees, that they stretch towards the light. They're light drinkers. We're all light drinkers. And you'll notice any living being, maybe there's an exception at the bottom of the ocean, I'm not sure, but living beings generally gravitate towards light. And light represents knowledge, represents freedom, the light of freedom. There's a natural quality to light that awakens our good feelings. For instance, we think of summertime and the light coming up and being outside and just being naturally free because of the light. And when it gets dark, then everyone goes to sleep. Sleep is a kind of closing down to the world, because what's the point anymore? When the light's gone, there's no more fun. There's no more impetus. We can keep it going. If you go to certain cities, they keep the lights going all night long. And that's what keeps everyone enlivened. It's the light. So we're stretching towards the light always. And if we consciously do it, this is one of the spiritual practices, be aware where everything, what is the source of everything? Where is it coming from? And look at it more carefully to see how it's affecting me and what its quality is. I love this picture of these trees. They start as tiny little saplings and then reaching higher and higher towards the light, they become great giants. So think about food also, like these blueberries. Blueberries are a superfood. And where do they come from? They're stored sun energy. These light drinkers, plants, they're like little factories. They have special panels called leaves that they hold out. And inside those panels, there are little cells. And the cells collect the light energy coming from the sun. And then they are able to transform it, transmute that energy into various kinds of foods like the blueberry. I would say blueberry, avocado, and artichoke, top 3 favorites. So all of them are sun energy transformed. So when we look at food, we can just think, look, it is miraculous. Look at a blueberry. What is it anyway? It's a self-contained unit. It's got everything that we need to be healthy. Well, of course, maybe not everything, but it's a very healthy food. And it's delicious. And it's a perfect little entity. And it's sun energy transformed into that beautiful little food source. So there, can you see the clouds and what is it Miriam said? I can't read the whole message, Shyam.
Yeah, I was just reading this book from Ning Tai. So somebody who has, like one of the monks, that he sees clouds in every food. So if you see the clouds in every food, you can see the unity of this world. So the clouds just give you the rain come down, go to the trees, and trees just blossom and then give you the food. So, I mean, you say sunshine, he was saying the clouds. So basically everything seems in the cycle and the same.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And becoming aware of all the natural ingredients that are combined together by some otherworldly force that bring out these particular entities. There's rain, there's clouds that bring the rain. It's all well designed, and it's coming out in ways that are beneficial to us. So yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you. Okay, so if we look at the next slide, it's about the ways in which some people greet the sun. In fact, it's a practice. It's done by singing a song when the sun comes up, when it's at high noon, and also when it is going down at night, and it's called Gayatri. So Gaya means song, and Tri means to liberate. So it's a song that liberates. Because when we notice that amazing entity, the sun, and we express our gratitude through this song, that the sun is an emanation from the Supreme, it's an eye of the Supreme, then we resonate and we come to this higher consciousness, our awareness that we're part of the whole. We are a part of the whole, and that we all emanate from the same original divine source. And this sun is here as a way to enliven us. It's providing for us, it's enlivening us by its light, it's showing us the way, and so forth. So this ancient practice of greeting the sun when it's first coming up with a song, or a specific song, it's actually written in the Sanskrit language that you see encircling the mantra we chanted in the beginning. That's the Sanskrit way of saying Om. And then around it is the Gayatri mantra. So that's a mantra that people who are following this practice, say 3 times a day, to become aware of their connection and dependence on not just the sun, but the origin of the sun as well. So, ... we have some practical ways of enlivening our practice and our lives in general. And so one of them is wake up before the sun and then greet the dawn with gratitude. So this, during the pandemic time, since I was home most of the time and not traveling, I took a walk early in the morning every day, one at night or in the evening. And then I noticed there was this person who every day was coming into Washington Park and sitting exactly where she could see the sun coming up. And every single day during the pandemic, and was just waiting for it. And I thought, well, it's amazing she's the only one. There's so many people driving around and going to work and all sorts of things. But the sun was just in their eyes, and they were thinking about other things. But this one person I could see was very absorbed in greeting the sun. And so it's an amazing process to wake up before the sun and notice the changes that come into the universe as the sun comes back, or as we come back around, and we can see the sunlight gradually increasing. And so the practice really is to greet the dawn with gratitude. Don't take it for granted. It's the greatest event of the day. So this is before I go on to the tips, I'm going to talk on this slide for a second, which is to, you can go back to that slide, which is the best time for spiritual practice is 1 hour and 40 minutes before sunrise. So sunrise is here in San Francisco Bay Area right now at 7:33 a.m. I guess that will change soon because we're going to go into daylight savings. So that's not that much before the sun. That's only 5 a.m. So it's not too much to ask of oneself, although it may, if you're not used to it, may take a little practice. Be that as it may, the ancient wisdom literatures describe how the day has its peculiarities. And this particular time, this time slot, is called Brahma Muhurta. It's 1 hour and 40 minutes before the sun actually appears on the horizon. And so if you can start your practice, your spiritual practice at that time, you'll have an amazing day. And before I get to the particulars of waking up, and there's some tips, let's just have a few minutes of conversation. Let's hear anything that stuck with you so far, any reflections on what you heard, or if you have a question. JM, I can't see any chat box. So if you haven't lit up the chat box yet, you want to say something, please do. And JM, if you see something, please tell me.
Yeah, please feel free to unmute yourself and share questions or reflections. I see Zila coming up. Please go ahead.
I just wondered if you could give some insight into why 1 hour, 40 minutes, like why not 1 hour, 39 minutes or 1 hour, or what's the duration that is recommended?
Yes.
Right. If you're doing for 1 hour and 40 minutes, then the sun comes up, it's perfect timing. But if you do for 5 minutes, what do you do the rest of the time?
Well, in saying this, you don't have to practice for 140. You don't have to practice for 1 hour and 40 minutes, 100 minutes, as Wolf just so aptly pointed out. But it just means it's a good period. Even if you take 5 minutes within that period before the sun comes up, you get more for it. So where's it from? these are astrological calculations. The day is divided into muhurta. A muhurta is an hour and 40 minutes. And there are characteristics of each muhurta throughout the day. And as we've discussed before, the world is affected, we're affected, everything around us is affected by the modalities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is the modality that lets in the most light. And then rajas is the modality of activity when I'm running to catch the train because I have to go somewhere. Sattva, I'm satisfied to be anywhere because I don't have to become something more than I am now. I realize that I already am something. And tamas is darkness. It means I'm unaware of the light. Maybe like during sleep time is a time when I'm not aware of light. I'm not consciously moving around. Of course, there are ways in which enlightened people, when they're dreaming, they're also receiving messages and so forth. But in general, sleep is kind of forgetfulness, and it's influenced by tamas, or the lowest mode. So during Brahma Muhurta, this hour and 40 minutes before the sun comes up, there's this opening of spiritual energy during which, when we practice even for a few minutes, we'll notice much more clarity. And then just in a very practical way, a lot of other people aren't stirring at that time. And if you take your time before the sun comes up, you don't get a lot of calls, and you can, apportion that time for some of your spiritual practice. Did that help?
Yes, sorry, I had to undo all the mute buttons. Thanks.
I know how you feel. That's how I've been feeling lately, with moving around with this phone. So yeah, thank you very much. Let's see if there are other reflections. Just of what we talked about so far. T.
In our ways, we talk about, as Native people, my tribe, grandfather's son, we call him. And my dad would say we need to get up with the sun. That's our ways, and go down with the sun. And we see him as a star. And when you were talking about like the blueberries and the fruits, and somebody said the clouds in it, I never noticed that, but we notice the star in everything, and its life cycle and its death, its birth and rebirth. And that comes due to grandfather's son cleansing and that promise of the new day. But we also have that window where you're talking about be up hour and 40 minutes. I've never heard that time frame, but I know that there is that window between just before dawn and just before dusk in our teachings that talks about the spirit door being open. Good things, bad things can come through during that time. And so you can see that, and see during that time when the sun comes to rise, the cleansing that comes, the life that's given for whom at that time, and the protection you get. And then the plant beings and the trees' responses as they wake up, and the parts of them that wake, and what they need to care for them so they can care for us. And the weather, there's so much you can observe during that time. It helps you just to get and be in that place, and then to put everything else and deal with it aside, I noticed. And then once the sunrise begins, and it's kind of, it's like when you're doing your connecting, now you're in that space. So now whatever you took can go to the next level, I guess, so to speak. And then recently also, I kept asking, because a lot of my people have become assimilated from residential schools, and they all will see this amen. And I said, what does amen mean? Like, where does this come from? What does this mean? Why are you guys saying it? And finally, I learned from somebody had the answer. It's Amen Ra from the Egyptians, and it is speaking of the sun. And again, and I thought that was so interesting that we keep getting pointed to this star being of ours and that direction of that light. So, and I just hope it would get your gears going sharing that, to hear what you have to say on those things. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, T, as usual. I really liked how you talked about the synergy when the plants are getting energized to take care of us. There's a kind of cooperation there within the whole world, that things are taking place. And yeah, as you said in the beginning, and this is much to the point about these times during when the sun's coming up, when it's going down, and also when it's perfectly overhead, are in Sanskrit and wisdom teachings called sandhyas. Sandhya is, as you described, a kind of opening time. And it's during those openings that you can take full advantage. I mean, there's a time for everything. It's like people go shopping when there's a sale, right? You don't go the day after. It's like, sorry, coupon's no longer good. You missed it. So similarly, in the day, in the week, in the month, in the year, there are special times. And when you take advantage of them, you get the most out of it. So on the spiritual teachings, these openings are really opportune times for doing spiritual practice and developing awareness. Yeah, thank you very much. JM, anything else in the box?
Yeah, a couple of them have come. Mayank says, I really resonate with the point that we as living entities really crave for light, especially sunlight. For example, when after many clouds or rainy days, when the sun finally comes out, everyone feels happy.
Yep. And when it goes down at night, it's like, what's the use? Let me just go to sleep. I give up. No more sun. Yeah, nice.
Mariam says, I wonder how much 5 a.m. Club book was inspired by the spiritual practice.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something a lot of people notice. There have been several books about this, and it's well known that, successful people get up early to bed, early to rise, makes a man or woman healthy, wealthy, and wise. So this is this is enduring wisdom that's passed along through such sayings. And just on a practical level, if you get an early start, you kind of get a jump on your day. But there's a spiritual element that you can add to it also that makes it exponentially more helpful to our consciousness throughout the day and throughout our lives. So how about we look at a few tips about getting up before the sunrise, which I feel happy to talk about because I always get up before the sun rises at Brahma Muhurta time. I've been doing it for a long time, so I feel confident about talking about it and not being hypocritical. I never sleep in. And so the first is go to bed early-ish. I've noticed from being in touch with a lot of people, what's early for one may not be the same for another. And there are different patterns that all of us are in according to our employment and our family rearing and so forth. So I said early-ish. And so the earlier, the better. There's a kind of cycle that we can follow, being asleep by 10 p.m. according to Ayurveda is extremely beneficial. We talked about that a few weeks ago. So that's the key to getting up earlier, because it's not sustainable if you go to bed later and later and later to get up before the sun, because you'll just feel really tired and out of sorts. So another tip that I highly recommend for waking up in a conscious state is to clean and organize your space before you go to sleep. It's worth the trouble to take time to make sure everything's clean. Don't leave stuff out, dishes, anything. And also organize, because when you wake up to an organized space, then your mind tends to be more productive and peaceful. I know those two don't sound like they go together, but it's a sort of peace that I don't have distraction, and therefore I can be productive. So cleaning and organizing your space, this is very practical. And if you just try it, even if you can't get it perfect, and that's one of the reasons sometimes we don't clean our space, or at least I don't, is because I think, oh, I have to do a deep cleaning on everything. No, do the best that you can at that time, and you'll notice it when you wake up. I always feel like, hey, who did that? Somebody cleaned the room, and I thought, oh, I did it. Thank you, sir, for doing that. The next is to hear and see something spiritual before you go to sleep. Don't watch a horror movie and then go to sleep and expect that your sleep patterns will be really nice, or that you'll have spiritual dreams. I mean, you may anyway, but if you're very careful about engineering your environment, especially around bedtime, and listen to some wisdom from one of the wisdom literatures, look at things that are not just in the lower modalities, but are spiritual. And then make that a ritual before you go to sleep. It's very helpful. Next is very practical. I've found that the best alarm clock, if any of you use alarm clocks to get up in the morning, but I swear by this, it's just so helpful to me. I found this kind of alarm clock that's it's a light, and I put it in far away from where I'm sleeping, and I set it so it starts to illuminate about a half hour before the time that I need to get up. And so it very gradually, just like the sunlight, starts to illuminate the very large bulb. And then it's an orb, actually, kind of half an orb. And it is sort of reddish when it first lights up, and then it gets brighter and brighter. By the time it's time for me to get up, it's very bright. And it's a very gentle way of awakening. I also have an audio alarm that I keep next to me, just as a redundant system, because it's so important for me to get up at a particular time. I normally don't have to use that at all, because I'm already used to getting up at a certain time. Nonetheless, I use those two tools, but I do recommend them. The next is, as soon as, and this is highly recommended. Okay, I could share the print. I'll look on it and share it before we go. And that is to use mantras, utter mantras as soon as you open your eyes, as soon as you become conscious that I'm not sleeping anymore. Use affirmations and mantras. We just use some of them in the beginning in our meditation. So the first thing that comes out of your mouth can be a spiritual utterance. And you'll notice if you line those up, you'll get on a track right away as soon as you open your eyes. There's no chance for any other kind of energy to usher in, but you kind of declare it that I'm on a spiritual track as soon as you are able to do so, having emerged from sleep. And then from there, and we have affirmations we've shared before, we can share them again, and mantras as well. You can try them out. The next, this is something I learned from one of the ancient wisdom literatures, and you can take it as you wish, but it's step out of bed with humility. And so stepping on the earth, we say kind of a prayer to Mother Earth, please forgive me for stepping on your surface. Like this, and I always put my left foot down first, just as a matter of ritual. Rituals aren't necessarily bad if you do them consciously. And so I'm stepping gently on Mother Earth's surface and saying, please allow me to walk on you today and be of service to you, like she's our mother. So this is also very grounding when you first wake up. And be humble. It's like I'm dependent on you, Earth, Mother Earth. And then it's a very helpful way to stay in this flow is to just offer some gratitude to your teachers. if you have teachers that are guiding you in your life or have guided you, you just say a word of gratitude. Thank you. That's all you have to say. And you can name your teachers. Or if you have a picture of those who are most important in your life, just to thank them as soon as you wake up. Next is, how more practical can you get? Make your bed. Don't leave it a mess. Actually, there's a Marine general who has spoken on TED Talks and makes this point about how foundational it is when you wake up to make your bed. You're starting from that point of a kind of orderliness in your life. And he says, if nothing else goes right in your day, at least you made your bed. But it's a very helpful sattvic practice, because sattva means that you're clean and organized. So make your bed. And then next is, as soon as you're up and moving, get the spiritual vibration going. So I use devices, like I can turn them on, and I already have them lined up, the kind of spiritual vibration I want to have around me as soon as I've arisen from bed. And I'm moving about, so nothing else comes in, and there's no other temptation to listen to other kinds of vibration. So these are a few of the tips, and let's just see if you have any reflections or questions about the tips so far. And then we'll go into a couple more practical ones.
Archana says,
yes.
Archana says, that's what birds do. They wake up with sunshine, eat before sunset, and are back home at night.
Be like a bird.
Yeah. So then there is another question. Is it open to people, to any one? Yes, please drop a note and we'll add them to the list so anyone can join this. Wolf says, now you have to share the brand and model, please. I think he's referring to the
light. He wants to know about the light.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can walk over and look at it in a minute. I'll just do it now, because I might forget. Philips. The one I've had for many years, and it's made by Philips. You could get them online. They're about this big. And they have very progressive light, and that looks like the sun when it's coming up. Couldn't recommend it more. And no, I don't get a commission.
There's the next question is from Deepak. He asks, what's the meaning of start spiritual vibration? What, and Marcella follows up, what kind of vibration can we use?
Well, there are, you can make vibrations yourself by spiritual mantras. We have the mantras we started today, like with Om and Rama. So if you want to, you can already keep your chanting going, your chanting of mantras as you get up and are moving around. Also, for instance, I have this little device. It's a medium tech device that has a chip in it where I've put in a lot of talks that were recorded from my teacher that are on Bhagavad Gita and other wisdom literatures. So as soon as I've offered my gratitude to my teachers, then I just turn the box on as I'm moving about and getting ready for my personal mantra meditation, which I do early in the morning. And then there's also what are called bhajans or kirtans. That means like the musical chanting of mantra. And those you can also have recorded, and there are many of them. And you turn those on. So that's the vibration that comes in. Don't put on CNN. Those are all meant to break our concentration. That's why they call it breaking news. It breaks your heart, it breaks your concentration, it breaks your spirit, as then you just are taking on your head There's a story my teacher used to tell. There was this woman who was trying to make a living, and she was having a really hard time of it. All she could do was get some sticks for firewood, and she had to go to a far-flung forest to collect them and then bring them back to a village to sell. She was making a very paltry living. And one day, as she was going up the hill with the sticks, she tripped on a stone and the sticks on her head went flying. And she piteously prayed, "Oh, please help me. Please, God, help me." And so in the story, God appears to her and says, "How can I help you?" And she said, "Please put these sticks back on my head." So there's this sense of there's a lot more that you could ask for than just put the burden on my head again. So the burden of the world comes through many different channels. We don't have to tune into those and take extra burden. I'll just put sticks on my head so I can carry them around. But if we take on spiritual sound vibration, that is the commonsensical and very elevating, encouraging words coming from books like the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. So these types of vibrations will have a completely different effect on our consciousness. And if you start early in the day, then they'll be foundational.
We have Lori who says, your morning rituals remind me of something I have quoted from a previous talk with you. Something such as mindful, be mindful of what you put in your mind. Do you recall the phrase?
Yes, that is, I think you're referring to content and content. Perhaps it's the word content and the word content.
Yes.
Are the same. Yeah. Okay. That was it. I thought
Thank
so.
you.
Yeah. We're containers. That was that piece on we are containers. So thanks for remembering that. I'm really touched that you remembered. So we are walking containers and our mind is a container. If we remember that, then we can be attentive to putting in good content. What do we expect? I mean, what do I expect if I put in bad content? Then, when garbage comes out or when it's there clunking around in my head, whose fault is it? So, yeah, thanks for remembering that.
Vesam has shared the light alarm clock that he uses. There's a link on the chat box. Then LV says, agree with avoiding news media first thing in the morning. That alone can help put us on a calm frame of mind.
Yeah, just by the absence of it. Good one, Liv. Yeah. Okay.
If I can share something.
Yes, please.
What the book, one book I read or a talk I heard says that, sleeping allows you to suspend your thoughts. So if you, it kind of holds your thoughts so that you can suspend that. And then if you wake up in the morning and don't allow that continuation by bringing in a new vibration with, say, gratitude or with these kind of, setting the vibrational tone for the rest of your day. I think the suspension of the night's thoughts can get a break so that you can carry a positive momentum forward. And I think that's what I got from your tips, that's really essential if you want a head start on your day with a positive spin rather than carrying on the luggage of your previous night. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That was profound. And, we can extend that outwardly to the greater arc of our life, which is that we're in this particular body now, and death is like sleep also. We become unaware of the present body, we leave it, and all the things that were in relationship with this particular body, we abandon when we leave the body, and then we wake up in another place. And we start over again, new chapter. We get acquainted with how to use a new body, whatever body we get, so forth. So that this is a cycle that the wisdom literatures say it's up to us to take responsibility to break the negativity cycle that keeps us bound to the downward spiraling thought process that affects us not just in a day, but also in our entire lifetime. So every day is a new unit. It's a self-contained unit in which we can practice for the ultimate, which is leaving this body. So if you think it like that, as I mentioned earlier, my teacher, I just heard him this morning when I turned on my little red box, he was saying, getting ready to fly from New York to San Francisco is a preparation to make. And so we should be preparing. It's a time of preparation. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see if there's a couple more slides in that. And these are also on the practical side. And that is just recommended, like this tongue scraper. Of course, elimination in the morning is quite natural. It's also helpful to drink some warm water when you wake up. There's nobody that's ever disagreed with that I've heard of. But it's good to hydrate the system in the morning, warm water. And elimination is much easier then. And then scraping the tongue. This is an age-old process, but there's a lot of bacteria and stuff that gets on your tongue. And you can use a tongue scraper. They're also available on Amazon, of course. And I use a copper one myself. I've been using them for 50 years. And it's, I don't think I could live without it. I don't know how I would. It makes such a huge difference. So these are just practical hygiene points. And bathing. Maybe you'll like to hear this, maybe not, but it's really good. If you take a warm shower or bath, whatever it is, follow it with cold or cool, or at least cool. Because when you finish with a cold shower, then it's really good for all your organs, and it also closes all your pores. So when your pores are closed, then you'll actually feel warmer. It's counterintuitive. Even in the wintertime, if you finish with a cold shower, you won't get cold during the day. If you take a piping hot shower thinking you're going to be warm, and then you go out into the cold, you're going to be much colder. So these are just scientific facts. I hope I'm giving accurate scientific facts, but as far as my research shows, and just anecdotally on my own experience. And then once you've done that, you've risen from bed in a very conscious way. You've made your bed, you've offered gratitude to the earth, to your teachers. You've put on some spiritual vibration. Maybe this is all taking place within 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes, or however long it takes you. But then clear a space so that you can greet the sun. So if you're fortunate enough to get up even a little time before the sun, a little while before the sun, then you can start doing your mantra meditation. So what is this picture showing? Somebody holding some beads. So this is one way of counting mantras. There are other ways as well. You can get a little hand counter that just shows numbers. People use it for counting how many people are walking in a door and so forth. You can use it for counting your mantras. And I've also mentioned about how you can count on your fingers. There's 10 little spots here you can count. And point is, get ready for the sun and do your mantra meditation. And if you do your mantra meditation at this time of the day, and even as the sun's coming up, I guarantee you'll have a transcendent experience that will change your perspective for the better, a much higher perspective. As far as coffee goes, coffee is, it induces rajas energy. I know a lot of people are used to taking caffeine. It's not the best drug on the planet, according to a lot of research. You don't need it. You don't need it if you get a regulated spiritual practice. You get a natural kind of energy. You don't have to depend on anything else to jack you up to a higher level. You'll generate your own energy. And caffeine is rajas. It means it gets your mind racing instead of being serene. I hate to be the bearer of bad news or anything like that, but if it's possible to try it without it and to wean yourself off caffeine, at least for a while, so you can see what it's like, you'll notice that the natural energy that comes from your body is much more powerful and sustainable than the ups and downs you get from coffee. Hope I didn't make any enemies on that one. JM has a couple announcements.
Yeah, Vaish is traveling to East Coast and Europe for next 3 weeks, but he does want to keep in touch, so he'll be sharing some thoughts, and we can come together and discuss those thoughts in maybe small breakout rooms. That's what we're thinking for next 3 weeks, given when he is in UK, it will be midnight, or at least its schedule is unpredictable. So we'll plan to continue to have this session. It's just, it'll be, we'll break out into different rooms based on some of the thoughts, share and discuss and learn from each other. That's the plan for next 3 weeks. Given a shorter time, I just wanted to share that. Over to you, Vaish, if you want to add something more.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to try to check in if I can't personally, and I don't think I can because the time difference. I'm going to New York and then the UK. Thanks, Linda. I'll miss you so much. I'll try to send in clips. I won't use that word try. I'll send in clips. That's a bogus thing to put try in front of something. I'll send in some clips just to try to keep in communication and touch anything from the road. And thanks, Pramila. I'll miss you too. So I'm going to New York for 3 days, and then we're going, my wife and I, to the UK. No, it's not a vacation exactly. We have a full schedule of speaking engagements around the UK and in New York. And hopefully we'll be back here. If everything goes as planned, they let us in the country and then let us back out and back in here. We'll be back here on the around the 22nd, not around, we'll be back on the 22nd of November. Not very long. Thank you very much, Anand. So we have today heard about the benefits of getting up before the sun. I know it's a big proposition if you're not used to it, but there's a lot of tips here I've shared. Just try some of them and see what happens. And I'd love to hear from you. You can report back and tell me what's happening. And sometime we could have like a retreat or something like that, and we'll all get up before the sun. I was just at a retreat a few weeks ago, and I took a whole group up to the top of a hill where we could see the sun coming up, and we did our mantra meditation together, and it was very powerful. Everyone benefited from it, according to what their reports were. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, JM, for keeping everything going. I'll be counting the days until I see you back here again. And
safe travels.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Please keep the transcendental vibration going, which reminds me that the yogis high in the Himalayas who live in caves and meditate there all day long sometimes come out for getting some roots and berries. And when they see one another on the path, that is fellow yogis, they raise their hands in the air and they say this phrase that means keep the vibration going. Haribol.
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 Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Haribol.
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 Haribol.